I want to make this table saw sled so I can cut small parts on my table saw. I had a couple of close calls on my miter saw, and it's not safe. So I decided, I looked at some different videos, and there are versions of this out there, but everybody's kind of relying on a square to make the fence square to the blade. Epoxy or glue, whatever, screws. And I came up with a different idea, and what I have here is I'm going to make mine so that these grooves are the same width apart as the grooves in the miter slot runners. And then I'll make a couple of small keys, and that will make it perfectly perpendicular to the blade. As long as your miter slots are perpendicular, or parallel I should say, then this will end up perpendicular and square. The other thing I want to do is make the fence replaceable. All the others I saw there were just a solid fence here, a basic L bracket, and I got the L bracket, but I'm also going to put in some bolts with T-nuts so that I can, if this thing gets chewed up for any reason, I can remove it and replace it. So there's the basic concept. T-nuts in the back to accept the bolts, and then runners. Now the other thing you're going to see here is I've decided to build my runners and have them stepped down so that this portion is flush or below the saw tabletop surface, but this portion back here is a full 16 millimeter Baltic birch thickness. So I'm going to make my runners out of Baltic birch, and then basically everything else is Baltic birch as well, except maybe this guard here. So let's get at it. Okay, the first thing you want to do is make your runners, and I've got mine done here out of 12 millimeter Baltic birch, 3/4 inch wide to fit my slots nice and perfect. Then the next operation you want to do, and this is the critical thing, it's not where you set these, you set this up, but you want to give yourself some room. What I did was I brought my miter gauge in here. You have to imagine that this is a dado set because I've already taken it out, and then I used my fence as my guide, and I made my first cut. Let's just say the dado blade is in, and my first cut is right there. Drop the blade a little bit. Okay, so that's my first cut. What I did then was set up a stop block here on my rail. It can be anything. You can use a hand screw clamp, whatever. Just something to stop your T-square from moving. And I used, for spacing, I used 1.5 inches between my grooves. So I put that on my rail, brought up my stop, locked it down, removed that, moved my fence over 1.5 inches, made my second cut. Okay, and the depth of cut for me was 1/8 of an inch. And I did them both at the same time, making sure I had them, to the fence, pressed down, grabbed them both, ran them through. So there's no danger there of any kickback because you're not going all the way through the piece. And that's how I did those two pieces. Now you want to do the same setup when you rip your base plate. Let me get these things out of here. Well, that's okay. So you want to do the same thing here. And the location of these is not that important. It's just that you use the same setup. So I came over, and this is the front straight edge of my base. That went to the fence. Lined up my piece. I think I went, I went 2 3/8. Right there. Same setup. Brought in my 1.5 inch block. I brought my stop block in first. Made my rip. Ran that a couple of times. Brought my stop block over. Brought my stop blocks in here. Butted up my fence to that. And made my second pass. So these two grooves now are the same setting, same width apart, whatever dimension you decide to use, so that they will match these grooves perfectly, and when you put them together like so, you're going to end up with a 90-degree cut. Now the key thing here is making those keys. Again, I went ahead and kind of jumped the gun on that. I ran this through my planer until it fit these grooves perfectly. Okay, then I ripped. My original piece was this long, or this wide, I should say. I made 2 of them. I don't know why, but I ripped off 2 pieces. A little bit wider than 1/4 of an inch. In hindsight, I should have gone 1/4 of an inch. But then I hand planed it down to a little less than 1/4. Took my sticks, cut off 4 keys, and put them in my piece here. I hope you can see those there. Let me bring this in. So there they are. There's 1 and 2. They fit perfectly into these grooves as well because they were cut at the same time. But what you can't see is this edge is square. The edge on the inside, I've got to pull these out again, has got a slight chamfer on them. Let me do that. Hang on a second. All right, that video didn't turn out all that well. It was way out of focus. But this is the width that fits the grooves I made, and it's about a little less than 1/4 of an inch tall. But this goes in the miter slot rails, and this is the chamfered edge I was talking about, so that when I went to put that fence holder on there, I didn't break these edges off. Okay, so now I've got my parts made. These go in my miter slots. I got them marked 1, 2, 3, 4. So here's 2. Chamfer side up. Press that into place. 1. Press that into place. And they don't have to be perfect here. They are going to get a spot of glue when I get ready to do this. And 3 and 4. Okay. So nice snug fit. Just slightly above the table. Let me make sure. Yeah, those are all the way down. And the beauty of this is that when I go to put this on now, and I find those just like that, I found that chamfered edge. Now when I press this into place, it's going to line up at 90 degrees.